Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the end of the video? There's another paid request. This time for Jacob. Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it. For those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics, reactions, reviews, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And Jacob wanted me to talk about an episode of the Andy Griffith Show. In this case, it's called Barney's First Car. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe, for those who don't know, the Andy Griffith Show was way back in the day, starring Andy Griffith, Don Knotts, Jim Nabors, and a very, very young Ron Howard as Opie Taylor. Because Ron Howard would go on to be in Happy Days TV show, and a director of Apollo 13, and Ransom, and The Da Vinci Code, and Backdraft, Cocoon, Willow. Andy Griffith would go on to be in TV shows like Matlock. Don Knotts did a lot of films, a lot of comedies, including a lot with, I think, Tim Conway, among other movies. And it ran for about 8 seasons. It was a very popular show. In fact, in its last season, it was like #1. Or at least in the top 5. It might have been the #1. It's one of those few shows that ended on top. I mean, you say like Seinfeld was still pretty high in the ratings when it ended. I can't remember other shows. Because usually shows where they end is because the ratings have gone downhill. But again, this ended on top. And maybe in a way that was for the better because, don't you yourself leave. Don't let people force you to leave. That sort of thing. Now, from what I understand, I don't know if it's still this way, but there's a few episodes that I think this is one of them that got into the public domain. Now, I'm not going to upload the episode, I'm not going to have any footage because there was a story I read where some YouTube channel tried to upload some of these public domain episodes, and CBS sued them. Yes, CBS actually sued them. So I don't even know if I'm even going to have a thumbnail. Just be like this for the thumbnail. There you go. But I'm like, well, it is public domain. If it's public domain, and why not? But CBS has some other reason. I forget the exact reason how they were able to sue them. So it goes to show you, even if it's public domain, you gotta be careful with that shit. Now, this is a show that I knew of. I've seen clips of. Of course, I remember the main theme, which I can't whistle, but it's a whistle theme. Do 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 do. What's weird is that the version I saw, maybe because it was a public domain version, the whistle was different. It wasn't the regular whistle. It was like a different. It wasn't even a whistle. It was this weird. It's kind of the theme of the Andy Griffith Show, but yet it isn't. It's not really a whistle. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a weird version of it that I'd never heard of before. And I don't know if it's because it's one of the public domain things, and obviously that theme you probably have to pay royalties to the guy who sang it or who whistled it, whatever it is. And by using this, it helps to make more public domain. I don't know what the circumstance with that is. Now, the show, even though it was in the 1960s, give or take, they're kind of going for the old, almost like the 1930s feel with things, at least in their eyes, were much more innocent. And Andy Griffith is the sheriff of this town. He's a widow. He has his young kid, Ron Howard. You also have Aunt Bee. And he has his deputy, who I think he was his cousin, Barney Fife, played by Don Knotts. You also have the mechanic, Gomer Pyle, played by Jim Nabors. And then Gomer Pyle got his own show. It was a Gomer Pyle USMC that lasted about 4 or 5 seasons. Golly gee! You probably heard people try to mimic Gomer Pyle among other theaters than maybe you've seen the show. In Aunt B, I always think a white man can't jump because one of the insults says, "You tell Aunt B my foot pies are ready." Opie? You Opie fucking Taylor looking motherfucker. Now, the episode itself, Barney's First Car, was fun for what it was. It was 27 minutes long, it went fast, it's in black and white. I think a good chunk of the episodes in black and white, and the last chunk were in color. And it's pretty... It worked because the actors were sincere with the characters. Don Knotts, very funny. I remember him the most, actually, from a Scooby-Doo episode, where it was the Scooby-Doo movies, where they had celebrities or famous characters. So like, there was one with Scooby-Doo met up with the Three Stooges. Sadly, the Three Stooges were not alive at the time, but it was cool to see the characters Three Stooges in there. One was Jonathan Winters, which was a fun one, and one was Don Knotts. That was a fun one. And yeah, Don Knotts actually voiced it. So that's probably the most that I saw of Don Knotts back in the day when I was a kid. And he definitely had a great look, physical nature in his comedy, and good comic timing. Very wonderful comedian. And sadly, pretty much, other than Ron Howard, most of them are gone. Andy Griffith, Don Knotts. I don't even think Jim Nabors is still with us. So it's too bad. I know Don Knotts actually went on to be in episodes of Matlock with Andy Griffith. Like, they were really good friends. So pretty much Barney Fife, played by Don Knotts, he gets his life savings of $300, which I think today would be like $2,500. But he got his $300, pretty much all the money he has in the bank, to finally buy a car of his own. And Andy Griffith, who's a very sincere character, very there's a warmth to his character. I think it's one of the reasons why people liked watching the show, is that they could feel the warmth, the heart of Andy Griffith, and then you have the fun comic timing of Don Knotts, and it worked well. But Don Knotts is like, no, I'm going to get this car. Old steel trap, made up my mind. So this lady comes in who's a widow and seems too good to be true, and tells this big story, and she had a husband named Bernard, and Don Knotts like, wait, Bernard, that's my name. I mean, people call me Barney, but I'm Bernard. And when they lays it out, you find out she suckers him into buying this car. This seems great, but she really works for this chop shop operation, and he's been sold a real lemon. And they find this out because they get everybody, Jim Nabors, Andy Griffith, Ron Howard, Aunt B, this other lady, and Donna, they're all in the car, and they're driving, and the others start noticing stuff. Like, we smell gas. Yeah, I smell gas. And Don's like, of course you smell gas. What do you don't smell? Coal? You think this runs on coal? So they're driving, and things go wrong. And I will admit, it's a funny bit where, as he's driving, this piece of the steering wheel slowly comes up. And like Don Knotts' facial expressions, his reaction, and then like the girl next to him turns and freaks out, and Andy Griffith is like this confused look on his face. He's like, well, I've never seen something like that before. And this is one of those sitcoms that does have a laugh track. I know there's some people that get annoyed by that, but I mean, if you're annoyed by laugh tracks, it is one of those that does have a laugh track. A lot of shows back in the day had laugh tracks. I wonder, are there sitcoms nowadays that still have laugh tracks? There might be some people that don't even know what a laugh track is. It's literally the audience laughing. A lot of times, fake, you generate it in there, always to let the audience go, this is when you should laugh. But it's also that mindset that when you hear someone laugh, you try to, it can maybe become infectious. I think that was the line of thinking as well. The infectious laugh. Which, I mean, I've been part of that too. Where if someone's laughing, you kind of laugh with them. It's kind of like you see someone yawn, you start yawning. So the laugh track doesn't bother me because I grew up with it. But it's one of those things that's definitely, even if they do it nowadays, it still makes me think of the old days, the laugh track. And the engine is smoking, and there's more sounds, and ultimately the car dies. And they're pushing the car back. And Gomer Pyle lists like the 13, 14 things that need to be done to fix this thing. And Andy Griffith and Don Knotts, they realize that Barney Fife's been had. So they don't go to see the girl. I don't know why they thought this wouldn't happen, but the car breaks down again. I'm like, of course it's going to break down again. I don't know why they didn't just go in two separate cars. Like, hey, in case his car breaks down, I have a car. Because they have a cop car. So I don't know why one would not drive the lemon car and the other drive a cop car. And then if that breaks down, we get in this car, go somewhere that we need to go. But if they did that, then they wouldn't have to call for a tow truck and they'd be hiding in the back. And they think it's Gomer Pyle, but it's actually someone else towing it. And so they hide and they're towed right to the chop shop. Barney Fife getting his one bullet, because he only has one bullet in his gun, puts it in, get the drop on them. She tries to almost sell Barney on her car again, and then Andy has to wake him up, and then it ends with, Barney's going to be more cautious. So he sees another old lady, and he's like talking down to her, and you find out it's related, the woman's related to the Reverend. So, talking smack to the Reverend's aunt or something? Mom, aunt, I forget. But, I mean, like I say, it's a fun... I think Andy Griffith himself has said this is one of his favorite episodes, or maybe his favorite episode of the show. And, I mean, it was old school charm fun. I really didn't have any issues with it. Like I said, the characters had that old school charm to them. I keep reusing that word. Don Knotts was a great comedic talent. I know that he did a lot of movies. There's The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, and again the films he did with Tim Conway. Actually, I mean, even Andy Griffith, I didn't even see a lot of Matlock. Like, I know of Matlock, and I've seen clips of it. I think the guy who co-stars would go on to co-star in Walter Texas Ranger as Chuck Norris's partner, I believe. I don't know why, for a split second I did that because he was diagnosed as murder, which makes no sense because one's a lawyer and one's a doctor. And that's Dick Van Dyke. But, again, that small town charm of these characters, clean, fun, it's something you can watch with your kids. If your kids can deal with black and white, because there's people that get deathly afraid of black and white. This kind of makes me think about the generation today. Because we have so many other options of streaming, so many other options of seeing a movie. I mean, the internet, you have this vast array of movies coming out now in like the 30 streaming platforms that just want content. Quantity over quality, as I put it. It makes me wonder, can shows like, go back to the 80s, like Elf. Like Shout Factory, they got the rights to Elf, but they haven't said anything about it since. Are they actually going to put it out on Blu-ray? Is it actually going to be the uncut episodes? But they even go back further to the days of like Andrew Griffith Show, I Love Lucy, or even the Three Stooges. I love the Three Stooges. I love Red Skelton. How many younger people actually don't know who the hell the Three Stooges or Red Skelton are? And that's because back in the day, when you only had, 3, 4, 5 channels, when you only had what you could see on VHS tape, and then either your parents or your grandparents showing you, this is what I used to watch, and or your aunt taping movies on a VHS tape. Some people might not even know what the hell a VHS tape is. And it's just, you have stuff like that, and how many people nowadays, especially younger generation, will even know and be able to find this stuff? So then it makes you wonder just how much stuff will disappear in the zeitgeist. But the older people who grew up with this stuff are long gone, and replaced with the people that are now very head set on TikToks, and even nowadays with me, I watch more YouTube than TV. That's why I don't even have cable. I don't have cable. I don't really have any streaming because YouTube fits most of that. And once in a while, I would like you to find on YouTube like someone reacting like a Three Stooges thing, but just even that when Three Stooges is public domain, like Disorder in the Court, that became public domain. Not all Three Stooges became public domain, but that was one of those that became public domain. Same thing happened with some of the Andrew Griffith show. So that makes me wonder, will people like Don Knotts and Red Skelton and Three Stooges disappear from the memory? And if so, that's sad. I guess that's just inevitable, but it's sad. And I don't know, just something just made me think of it while watching something like this. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. What can you do? I would say for anyone who's never seen like Three Stooges of Moe, Larry, and Curly, or Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein, or some of the Red Skelton old episodes, definitely worth a look. And again, this episode, it was fun. It's fun for what it needed to be. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.